Hello everyone and welcome to Interpersonal Communication. Today is our verbal and nonverbal day, and instead of having class face-to-face, we're going to talk about these different types of ways to communicate over an online device. So switching things up a little bit, and it will play into our lesson as you'll see. But first of all, what I need you to do and be prepared about for this week. First of all, your second reading response, you will turn that into me next week in person at the beginning of class, along with, let's make sure I'm telling you correctly, along with your benchmark number 2, which is describing your communication patterns. If you have questions over what benchmark 2 is, please refer to your packet on Blackboard under assignments. Okay, so those two things will be due to me at the beginning of class next week. And your 2 quizzes for today are located on Blackboard underneath assignments as well. So make sure that you do your 2 quizzes for today to earn your points for those. Alright, so what I'm going to have you do today is you're going to watch a couple of other videos that I have linked in our Blackboard account here, which are I statements and but statements. Those are the 2 things I really want us to focus in on during our verbal chapter. With verbal communication, we can't take back what we say. It's there, and okay, so what are we supposed to do in order to make sure that if we say something, it's said correctly, it's said in a way in which people can understand, and it's the most descriptive and direct form of communication that we can have. What happens is a lot of us use a lot of accusatory or defensive language without even realizing that we do. Sometimes, and I like to call our 3-letter words in communication like 4-letter words when we are in an interpersonal relationship or even any type of interpersonal dialogue. When we push the you word, or we say, you made me mad, we're pushing blame onto the other person. We're evaluating the other person, judging them, assuming the role that they have all the responsibility and that we have none. And in fact, as we talked about last week, emotions are our own, and so now we're pushing our responsibility of our emotions onto someone else. How fair is that? It's not fair at all. In fact, if we want to be the most competent communicators that we can be, we must take ownership and responsibility for our feelings, our wants, our thoughts, our interpretations. So something that is going to happen in one of these other videos that I have posted is you're going to do an exercise of changing you statements to I statements, and you're going to notice a difference. What happens with a you statement turned I is that people start taking responsibility. The sentences may even get a little bit longer because what? We're getting more descriptive instead of evaluative. Evaluative language can be very vague and very short. And we think that we're being direct when we're being short and sentence structured. And that's not the case. What's happening is we're becoming very evaluative and vague, and people have to interpret that and then try to figure out what type of information to take away or to then ask a follow-up question with. So why don't we become more descriptive, because that way we're going to become more direct with our communication. Okay, so do your exercise on the next video that I have posted of I statements. See how that works for you, and see what you think about I statements. The next concept of verbal communication that I want to cover are but statements. But statements, oh my goodness, that just sounds ugly, doesn't it? But, that word. It's another 3-letter word, and oftentimes we use it very inappropriately because we're putting 2 sentences together that don't need to be put together. They are one thought and another thought that don't have any relation to one another. We think that it's appropriate though, and that it makes more sense to use a but statements instead of putting a period at the end of one sentence and starting a new sentence, putting an and instead. And it's not. So we've got to make sure that we're using but statements correctly, and be aware that sometimes we use it as a filler word or as a way in which to soften the blow. As we know, when we do that, though, people are expecting a but, and what do? They forget everything before the but, and what's left, the negative stuff that we were trying to soften with the but. For example, I love you, but I think we should see other people. It doesn't make much sense. Well, if you love me, then why are we breaking up? Those two sentences don't go hand in hand. And do you think that they remember the I love you? No, they don't remember the I love you. They just remember the I think we should break up. So let's figure out a way in which to communicate more descriptively, more effectively, and using the proper verbal communication in order to make that happen. So once again, there is another video I want you to watch of but statements, and in that video there will be a couple of exercises that I want you to take part in and see what you gain from them. All right, so now those are the two things that I really want you to walk away from in terms of verbal communication. I will go over this in more detail when we get back together next week, but I want to see what you come up with this week. All right, so then nonverbal communication. This is a fun topic. So something I want you to take away from and really focus in on is we are communicating. For the past 6 minutes, we've been communicating online, or I've been communicating to you. You don't have any feedback to me. Now you can see me, you can hear my voice, you can kind of see the environment that I'm in, but you can't really come up and ask me questions. There's not a direct one-on-one. Maybe there's something going on. You can't see the second half of me, right? What's going on? You can't see everything that I'm saying to you. So is that influencing the message that you're interpreting from me? So be prepared of that. And while we go over these different types of nonverbal communication, I want you to think about that. Okay, so the different types of nonverbal communication I want us to be aware of. First of all, paralanguage. We think that anything voice related is verbal communication, and that's not the case. When we think of paralanguage, it's how loud I get or how soft I get. How fast my words can be, or how elongated and slow, and how I pull them together. People definitely know when I'm upset, because what do? I make everything a staccato, and you know that I am mad at you, right? We can use our paralanguage to make it sound the way that we want it to sound. A lot of emotion can come out of our voice, and a lot of lack of emotion as well. We know those classes that we've been in where the tone of the instructor is very monotone, and we're seeing a lack of energy, a lack of emotion in their voice, and that emotion is part of emotional contagion, right? And it feeds, it leads off into other people's passion in the subject as well. Okay, so there's paralanguage. The next thing that I want to talk about are kinesics, the way in which we use our body, kinesthetics, if you will. So do we slump our shoulders? Do we put our shoulders back? Do we posture, right? And you guys often heard of peacocking, right? Do we posture with another person in order to intimidate? Do we try to show a good sort of posture when we're trying to impress someone? What type of gestures do we use when we're talking, right? With our hands, like I'm doing. Are they taking away, or is it emphasizing each point? All right, so kinesics. Next is oculesics, eye contact. So how we make eye contact with another person. Do we look away from them? Do we look down? Do we flutter with our eyes? What is it that we're saying with our eyes? And oftentimes people do look away when we're embarrassed or there's something sad, and other people will try to make eye contact with them because eyes show a connection, that we're in this together. So make eye contact with me. Okay, proxemics is another one. How close I'm sitting to you, standing to you, or how far apart I am. If anyone likes to people watch, we can determine if someone's on a first date or if they've been married a long time. How? Based off of how close they're sitting together and how comfortable they are in that space. So think about this. You're sitting at your house, I am sitting in my office, and I am communicating to you. There's a lot of distance between us. Is this influencing the amount of information that you're receiving? Would proxemics within the classroom make it easier for you to interpret this information? Okay, so proxemics. Another one is chronemics, the use of time. We use time to show a power dominance if we're excited for something, right? Think about if you're going on vacation somewhere and you're flying to Fiji. Oh, wouldn't that be great? I think our class needs to take a field trip to Fiji. We're flying to Fiji. We're super excited. Do you think we're going to be late for that flight? Oh, heck no. We are going to be early, and we're going to be early on top of being early because we're super excited, and we're showing that through the use of time. Now, if you're not excited about going somewhere, and this can often be the case, right? Remember when you were a kid and you didn't want to go to your, maybe your piano lesson. Did you drag your feet and take a long time getting ready? Yeah, because we're using time to show that, hey, I'm not excited about doing this. We still do it as adults to show excitement or to show that we're just really not into it. Okay, so chronemics. We also use our environment to create a type of message that we want other people to know about us. So think about your house, your apartment, your bedroom. What type of message do you want people to take away? If they walk in your living room, do you want them to feel at home? Do you want them to feel like this is very modern and chic? You're communicating a personality trait maybe through your environment, through your space. We do this in our office as well. So your boss comes, you walk into your boss's office and their chair is super, super tall and you're sitting on the floor, it feels like. They're using their environment to show maybe some dominance, or maybe they show partnership and equalness because they have a round table, and when you walk in, you both sit down at this round table together. Pretty cool, right? So you use your environment to communicate. Another form of nonverbal communication is territoriality. We tend to use our space and communicate through it. So a lot of us sit in the same space that you sat in day one in the classroom. You come in and you sit down. Someone's sitting in your space, do you get upset? No, heck yes, because that is your space. Wait a second, is it your space? It's not your space. But we've communicated that this will now be my chair, my half of the desk, and no one can sit here. This is mine, right? You can see this a lot when you go to a grocery store or any parking lot, right? You pull into your parking spot and you come out and there's a car that's parked right on the line and you get really mad. Are they over the line? No, but they're super close to that line. And why do we get mad? Because when they open that door, I guarantee you, they're going to invade my territory. That is my territory, my space. Do not invade it. We become very possessive over territory. Okay, let's see here. Silence. Silence is another form of nonverbal communication. We use silence to communicate a whole heck of a lot. For example, if you are upset with someone, do you use the silent treatment to show that you are mad? We use the silent treatment when, as teachers, we want students to speak up in class. We'll remain silent because we want people to have their voices be heard. We're communicating a lot through silence. All right, let's see if I've gone through all of them. Nope, I want to go through one more. Haptics. Haptics is another form of nonverbal that is really important, and this is the use of touch. Touch, wow. Touch can greatly influence a relationship and conflict in a very positive way, and also in a very negative way. So think about pushing, shoving, hitting. That's communicating something, isn't it? Is this the most healthy way of communicating? No, not at all. These types of use of touch, of haptics, lead us down a very toxic path. And we want to be aware of that because we're not creating a safe environment. If at any point in any of your relationships you feel like you're in that type of environment, please do seek someone to confide in and to search for help. I want you to have the most successful relationships and committed and satisfying relationships there are, and those types of use of haptics probably aren't going to get us there. Now, if we use haptics in an appropriate and an effective way, we squeeze someone's hand, we give them a hug, we pat them on the shoulder. It's amazing what can happen. And oftentimes in conflict, we will get so angry And when someone reaches out to hold our hand or to give us a hug, you know what happens? We let go of that anger. It's just gone. It's amazing. It's amazing. That anger deflates to, okay, this person is reaching out and caring for me through the use of touch. Some research suggests that what happens during this time of conflict is we go back to one of our attachment styles, and it reminds us of when we were a child and we wanted to be comforted. And if we were upset as a child and we had a secure attachment style, we would get taken care of. We would get soothed. Our back would get rubbed. We would get hugs. We would get those kisses, right? And that takes us back there. So we're searching for that, and that touch can definitely be very effective. If you're one of those people that says, okay, no, I don't like to be touched in conflict, I hate it. One of two main reasons. There are definitely other reasons why touch could be so scary or maybe not what you want during conflict. Number one is maybe you don't have a healthy view of touch. So maybe you have a different type of attachment style. And number two could be that you do not want to let go of your anger yet. And you know as soon as you're going to get that hug, right, that squeeze of the hand, you're going to have to let go of that anger. You know that as soon as that happens, you just deflate and you're ready to move on from anger. Maybe you don't want to do that yet, so you want to stay mad. Don't touch me. Don't touch me. Okay, so that's the use of touch. So, from our 15-minute lecture here, these are the things that I want us to remember and to do for our exercises this week. First of all, watch the video on I statements and do the exercises. Watch the video on but statements and do the exercises. And then what I want you to do is I want you to do a write-up. A write-up of how was it to have our interaction, our mini lesson, our mini lecture, right? Because usually I do activities within the class that you're doing online. How was it different than face-to-face in relation to nonverbal and verbal communication? What did you take away from this lesson? Did you prefer it online? Do you prefer it face-to-face? And what is missing from an online session than face-to-face, or vice versa? Relate it back to our material, and I can't wait to have that discussion with you. I'm really looking forward to it. You guys are going to rock this assignment. Please make sure that that write-up from today's lesson will be typed APA format and turned into me next week, along with your reading response from this week and your benchmark number 2. Something to be aware of and to play with is that nonverbal communication is so powerful, and it's around and so much that we do. Play with it. See what comes out of getting really close to someone or getting really far from someone. How does that influence the way that we communicate? Have some fun with it, and I can't wait to see what you put up in your reflections for next week. See you then. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to email me.